Clearly, the wizard had thought this through, and indeed, even the smoke from his pipe served to mask the godless stench of these narrow tunnels of stairs. Rot was thick, and many surfaces being made from a foul, red, waxy resin. And around the room, no less than a dozen of the centipedes, all of them about the task of excreting the foul building material. The walls were coated in the vile sludge, not all of it yet hardened, and a great deal still dripping and bubbling. On the floor, the major domo reappeared, passing and not even stopping, but looking up at them as if to say,
"So, like what I've done with the place."
Then there came a vile sound from the next room, but before entering, the wizard turned to look at Tani, then Aziz, then Tani again. Pointing to Tani, he whispered,
"You understand that this is bad. Giant bugs afoot. This whole place must be burned. Run now. Get you to the magistrate and tell them this whole block must be secured, and if more of these are found, this whole section will need to be cleansed. Go now, and remember, lock the door behind you when you leave."
Aziz and Tani looked at each other then. That horrible sound of massive wings from inside the madam's chambers. Tani, hesitating for a moment, obeyed the wizard and ran back down the stairs the way they had entered, exiting the brothel and locking the door. Then running top speed in the direction of the nearest guard station, where the magistrate was waiting for Khanzel's report. Meanwhile, Aziz readied the crossbow as the wizard took the handle of the door, and they slowly opened this final entry. And what they saw inside froze their blood, and almost brought Aziz to a fit of vomiting. As the wizard had been most correct, a third witch's body was certainly to be found, and the condition and manner in which it was now being utilized was the stuff of nightmares. Another circle had been drawn on the ground, this one far too hasty as well. But instead of the configuration of two below, this one had been nailed to the floor, splayed by her hands and feet, and the centipede-like mask, seemingly permanently affixed to the witch's skull with the resin substance which seemed to have melted the mask onto her skull and bubbled over it, dark purple. Her lower body was torn completely in half, and from inside of the stretched-out ruin of her torso, there was what appeared to be a deep black hole going into the floor, which, having come from the floor below moments ago, they knew to be impossible. This area, right over the area where the table had been across the room from the bodies. And it was then that Aziz, driven by a momentary courage born of morbid curiosity, crouched down to look into the body's cavity to see exactly what was what. Then, to their combined horror, the witch took a deep, gurgling breath as she convulsed, making a terrible, strained scream that sounded like it was being forcibly drawn through shredded, bloody vocal cord remains. As she writhed, Aziz recoiled in horror, not from the body's motion, but from the 6 glowing amber eyes that looked back at him from inside the dark hollow of the witch's still breathing corpse.